So I thought I'd just ramble a little bit. This is going to be talking about World of Warcraft. And yesterday, World of Warcraft announced its new expansion, Legion, which is cool. My concern is that going into this, it's going to be awesome at the beginning, just like Warlords was, but then peter off because there's not going to be content. Of course, they're not showing a lot of stuff. They're only just showing the basic things. And I guess my other thought and concern is Warlords was a more expensive expansion than any other expansion that's been released, and was only 2 patches. It was only essentially one major content patch with a raid. And so, in a sense, I kind of feel ripped off that Legion, in essence, seems like it's the second half of the expansion that I paid for, and now I'm going to have to pay, another $50 for this next expansion. They haven't put a price point on it or anything. And hell, maybe they'll give it out for free since Warlords was such a disaster. But, right now that is a small concern. I mean, essentially one of the big problems with Warlords itself is it really didn't feel like it was even finished. Tanan Jungle, which was supposed to be released at the start of the expansion, didn't get released until, this current patch. And Tanan Jungle, though it's supposed to be like a timeless isle sort of feel, I've run out of shit to do there, and it was basically 2 weeks worth of content, and unless I'm raiding, it's very lackluster, and unfortunately, though Warcraft is my favorite MMO, I haven't logged into it in days now because there's nothing to do. There's no point. Now, stupidly, I am getting excited for the Legion expansion. It looks pretty cool. It's, bringing back Illidan, and Illidan is awesome, and it's got us killing Gul'dan, which is cool, and demons, and that's awesome. Because I think when it comes down to it, there's only really 3 bad guys. The 3Ds, demons, dragons, and undead, which isn't quite, a D, but close enough. Demon Hunter is something that everyone has really been wanting since, BC. So of course, getting a chance to play something like that, that's kind of cool. And of course I'm going to make one. I really didn't like the Death Knight. I don't like starting at like a higher level and trying to figure out how to play a character. Probably one of the reasons why I never completely ever leveled a Death Knight. Though like the intro experience of the Death Knight, where you get kind of like the backstory and it has its own special lore, playing through the character, I just never felt I could get into it. So I'm hoping that I can get into the Demon Hunter a bit more. And at least in this expansion, we are returning to Azeroth. There's some other things that are put into the feature list. And this is always one of those things where you look at the feature list, you're all, oh, that's really cool, and then some of these features aren't going to make it into the game. One thing would be like the improved transmogrification system. Because right now, my void storage, my bank, everything is maxed out. 99% of its armor. And even though I typically only wear 1 transmog on my hunter, I like to have other stuff just in case. So the improved transmogrification system, what I would like from that would be to, it stores the look of a piece of armor. You have to actually bind it to your character. You couldn't just go to the auction house and go, oh, click on these things and I get them and then resell them. Now you actually have to use the armor, but then you can throw it away and it's stored in some sort of a system. Other games do that. I think Warcraft can do that. They're going to be doing something sort of similar, really, if we look at the artifact weapons, where the artifact weapons will have different skins. So it's going to be kind of like this thing you unlock. Artifact weapons, that's super cool. I am looking forward to getting my artifact bow. They look really neat. I'm a little confused about survival hunters getting a spear. So does that mean that they're going to make survival more of a melee thing, or does that spear get turned into a bow? Because there was a bow back you got in Molten Core you had to do a whole quest chain for, and it was a staff that turned into a bow. So maybe it'll be something like that. Again, this is all a lot of speculation because as much information as they did give, I don't think they released everything they're going to do. It just makes me wonder if what they're really doing, they're just abandoning ship on Warlords, and they're pushing this out as quickly as possible because their numbers have tanked so dramatically in the past 3 months. You had this spike of people coming back for Warlords, and then, you know, 1.5 million people leaving your game in 3 months. That's got to be a wake-up call that you're doing something wrong. Now, I don't know if it's the player base expecting more, but I just know that in Warlords, I wasn't satisfied with the story. You're presented with characters that you might get a couple encounters with, and then you kill them off. And I was super pissed off about how they handled Garrosh's death. I was super irritated that Thrall once again comes along and Green Jesus saves me from the big bad guy. It makes me feel less important in the game when you go through the expansion scenarios and you're this commander, and then all of a sudden, nope, Green Jesus comes and saves you, and he kills Garrosh in the worst cinematic ever. I mean, the cinematic looked great, but Garrosh acting like a whiny little bitch was horrific. And I've never been a fan of that particular character. Never particularly liked him, and I wasn't really a huge fan of what they did with him in Pandaria. It felt like it sort of came out of nowhere. So all of this orc storyline, Chris Metzen's love of the orc, I'm so glad it's going away and that we're stepping into something different. I'm so tired of orcs. It's been 2 expansions of fucking orcs. So let's just go over the list of features that they have here. The new continent, the Broken Isles. So this will actually be in Azeroth. That's good, because everything in Draenor, ultimately nothing there matters to the storyline at all, other than Gul'dan going and being tossed into the Tomb of Sargeras by Archimonde. Nothing is relevant to our world. Demon Hunters, so that's going to have 2 specs. It's going to have a tank spec, and it's going to have a DPS spec. That is fine, I suppose. I mean, I guess I can't see them being healers, but you could have given them another DPS spec, but maybe that would have been weird. So I don't know. So you're going to get artifacts, and you're going to customize those artifacts, and they have their own trait trees. So that's an interesting idea. Hopefully it's not one of those things where it takes me a week to fill my trait tree, and then I'm done, and then I have nothing to do. I would actually like that and the leveling process to take longer. I leveled my first character in Warlords. You know, it took me a little bit of time. I leveled my second character to 100. I didn't even need to go through 3 zones to get that character leveled up. So I don't know if they did something to the experience, or if I know I was using the boost potions, but leveling was just too quick. Leveling needs to take longer. It shouldn't just be something I do in 2-3 days or a day and then move to endgame, which all endgame is raiding. The next thing that I actually am kind of digging is the class-specific order halls and followers. I know people are like, oh, it's just another garrison. Well, the way they're kind of describing it is you can put followers in there, but your character is kind of the head of this order, so that'll be kind of cool. But then any other hunter in the game can come to this location. I would like to see it where I could actually talk to Horde hunters that come in, because I do play an Alliance character. It would be cool if there was like cross-faction communication, at least just in the halls themselves. Maybe not out in the world, but it'd be nice to be able to talk to Horde characters. So, of course, they're putting a bigger emphasis this time on dungeons. In Warlords, there were dungeons, and I guess they were good. I never did any of them because the rewards weren't relevant. They didn't do anything. It wasn't worth doing. A lot of people have said that the Wrath of the Lich King system, where you got points and tokens and whatnot that you could put towards gear, was far better, and I have to agree with that. When they kind of did away with that, there's just no relevant point to doing these heroic dungeons. They're just a waste of time. Raids are great, but I'm really tired of looking for raid. It's a toxic environment. I would love some retooling of looking for raid, because what I'd really like to do is to have guilds come back. Every guild I was in or had any contact with when looking for raid came out, the guild pretty much evaporated, because everyone was like, oh, well, I could just do looking for raid to get gear. I don't really have the time or want to take the time to do this other content or set aside specific times to go raid with my group when I can just do looking for raid whenever I want. Alright, world bosses. They didn't say anything about world bosses, but we can assume some giant demon things. And killing giant demon things is awesome. The level cap raised to 110. Leveling, I don't mind leveling, but I do think at this point the game should move beyond leveling into something like a point system where you're just improving your character. You're not necessarily getting another level, getting another ability, getting or what it really was a lot of in Warlords was it improves an ability. That's not really getting anything, but if I get some sort of points that I can put into maybe my crit, or I can put it into some sort of anything, just something other than I have an experience bar that I have to fill to get to the next level, to get to the next thing. They're revamping the PvP progression system. I used to PvP. I stopped PvPing because, I don't know, it got boring. Because any of the new PvP, probably around Pandaria, I completely stopped. Because the new PvP areas were just kind of boring and I just couldn't get back into it. And I just didn't have time to grind both PvE and PvP gear. So they got this new system where rather than I have to go in and respec my character to go do PvP, you actually have a PvP spec that only works in PvP, there are some abilities that only work in PvP, and that's going to be awesome because it really gets tiresome when you have a PvE spec for, going out and farming or killing stuff, and they change how something works because it doesn't work for PvP. I have to suffer in PvE. So I'm glad that they're finally doing a differentiation between the two. Improved social features? I have no idea what that could possibly be unless it's another selfie cam, which I really don't care about. Character boost immediately to level 100. I have to say I'm not happy about the level boost thing. I would much rather the process of leveling be tooled so that maybe it's a newer or fresher experience. I think you should start at level 1. This is an MMO. You should start from the beginning and work your way up. And I think the 1 to 100 experience should just be made funner. It should just be made more entertaining. Rather than just say, oh, here's a level 100 character. All this other content that has been done before, we're not gonna mention any of that. That's old. I am interested in this expansion. I am not going to pass any sort of judgment on anything until I have more information. We already have people in the forums going, oh, this expansion's gonna suck. It's the end of the world of Warcraft. Everyone needs to stop whining. Everyone needs to wait for a few weeks or a few months. One thing Blizzard does definitely need to do is put some more content in the game, because right now I don't think I can wait 6 months to a year for an expansion, because I have nothing to do. In the past, I had junk I would do in the game, but I have nothing that seems at all interesting. So I really, really need Blizzard to put something in the game. Put something in the game now. And I know this was a lot of whining about, Warlords being kind of crappy. And in all honesty, Warlords should have been amazing. And I loved the leveling experience the first time through. I really enjoyed it. It was new, it was kind of fresh. I loved building up my garrison. And then it just got into the whole, well, I guess I could level this character to go mining. Well, no, I really don't need to because I have my garrison mine. And I guess I could level this character to get some herbs. Well, no, I really don't need to. I have my herb garden. So it turned into nothing needed to be farmed, so I didn't level my alts. I didn't feel I really wanted to. There wasn't a lot of point of just having another character with another garrison. I have 2 level 100 characters. I have my priest and my hunter. So what essentially happened is once I reached 100 and I got my garrison maxed out, then I really had nothing to do because I didn't want to run dungeons. I didn't have any friends around to do that with. I didn't want to run raids because I hate going into looking for raids. It's so scary. Not the encounters, the people. The people can just be so mean and so negative to each other. So what I've heard is that the raiding in this expansion was fantastic, was great, but I'm not doing that, so I'm not really experiencing anything. Also, my hunter tier sets are butt ugly, so again, there's no incentive for me to go and do anything, to go kill anything, because there's nothing cool, I guess. Things I want from my game. I want a community, which Warcraft is lacking right now. I want to RP. My server has no RP anymore. I'd have to move to another server, and I just don't feel like doing that. Armor and aesthetics, yes, those are important to me. I want to look cool. The environments need to be interesting. They were. I thought most of the zones were really cool. Everyone was like, oh, the nostalgia of Nagrand is going to be awesome. I really didn't like Nagrand, the way they redid it. For some reason, it felt really small. I don't know. There's something weird about it that I just couldn't get into. I think part of the reason is it didn't have that cool sky animation like that BC has. It's just, blue sky, so nothing really that interesting there. So ultimately, what do I want from an expansion? I want content. I want content that doesn't force me to be in a raid or in a group, in a dungeon. I want to be in the world doing things. I don't want to be in an instance doing things. That's all I want. So, Blizzard, give me what I want. Give me cool things to do outside of the game. Even if it's world PvP, I will do that. If it's grinding some kind of mark thing, just not Apexis crystals. Call them something else, please. Anything but Apexis crystals. And also give me some means of getting rep with certain factions, because there was a couple of factions in Warlords I have barely gotten any reputation with. I love filling up my reputation bars, and I'm an achievement whore and pet battle whore, so I have all of these bars that aren't filled up because I'm not quite sure how I'm supposed to get reputation with some of these factions. I guess I'm supposed to run instances? I don't know. Maybe. So make things a little more clear, and finish your expansion. Don't release it unfinished. If you need more time, just take that time, but at least give me some filler content. Maybe make an event. Maybe a couple demons appear in different zones and I have to go kill them. I'm good with that. Make it small. It doesn't have to be huge. And then do something big. Well, I think for now, I've rambled enough. I'm probably going to do some more of these candid sort of things. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. I'm trying to get this stupid mic working correctly. I'm working on through the beta of Guild Wars 2. I ran into a little brick wall while doing the beta, so I have to go back in and see if I either missed something or it's just a bug or anything. But I'll be doing some commentary on that. Some future things I want to do here too. I want to do some Twitch streams where you can watch me be a complete noob as I die and do stupid things in video games. But right now my internet connection is total crap, so I'm going to have to get some better internet before I can actually do streaming. But for now, this is Mythka, logging out.